Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa podcast. Welcome to our tactical debrief of Aston Villa 3, Burnley 2. If you are new to our channel, subscribe, drop this episode a like, and most importantly, comment your thoughts in the comment section down below. It goes off like a fan forum every single time. If you can subscribe, it helps me out massively. If you are enjoying our content, make sure that you do subscribe as well and you do comment your thoughts, because that's what the comment section is there for. So many of you interact with each other, which is really, really good to see. So the debrief, what is it? Let's get in depth then tactically. We'll have a look at the average positions. We'll have a look at passing networks. We'll go to the tactical pad. We'll have a look at the stats, and we'll have a look at some of the observations I've made, especially on the high line, which I know is hot topic, offside trap, if you want to call it that. So yeah, we'll go into it then. We'll go into the tactical pad first. And we'll have a look at some of the things that really, really impressed me. And the biggest thing that really, really impressed me was the link up between Moussa Diaby and Leon Bailey. I thought that was scintillating. It was that good. It was explosive, expressive, powerful, dynamic. You know, they were absolutely brilliant against Burnley. And hopefully now that's a sign of things to come with Moussa Diaby, because not only was it his, willingness to run with the ball, it was his vision, it was getting into attacking areas, but it was also his tracking back coming into these areas. I think there was one time in the first half when he came back and he put in a challenge and he just muscled somebody out of the ball and it set us on our way again. And I was like, yes, Moussa, that's what I want to see. And that was brilliant from him. And it sort of set the tone in his performance. So I think Moussa Diaby had a really, really solid game. Yes, he missed a couple of chances, could have had 4 or 5. Just needs to get his head down and work on that. He's looking for that top corner a little bit too much. But we won the game and he played really well. And I thought he had a really big game. And so did Leon Bailey, who I've got to talk about Bailey because he's absolutely incredible. He's playing some of the best football I think he's probably played in his life. Not only in a Villa shirt, I think this is some of the best football he's probably ever played. And it's a sign of great coaching to be able to get this out of Leon Bailey, but it's also Bailey's mental state as well to keep delivering these top-end high performances. So I've got to give massive credit to Bailey because he's playing really, really well. So the offside trap, the high line is getting, a lot of topic because we're conceding a couple of goals in the last few games. And I'm okay. I'm okay with it, if I've got to be honest. I think that's how we play and that's what we do. And we will continue to do it, and it works. And yes, we've conceded a couple of goals, and you might think it's being exposed at the minute because 2 teams have scored. United and Burnley have both scored from the high line, but it's risk reward, and the reward is absolutely huge. And one thing that I will mention about this offside trap and the line is that it works both ways. You can't be critical of it when we concede goals, but then be happy when we score goals, because the offside trap works in 2 ways. It's all about containing the opposition. And if we're containing the opposition in our half, when we're scoring goals from doing so, then it's having its rewards and bonuses at the same time. So it's a 2-way thing. We can concede goals from it, but we're also scoring goals from it. But I don't see any pundit or anybody mentioning the high line when we're scoring goals and we're having territorial dominance and etc. And we're on our halfway line and we scored a goal from it in this game as well. So, the high line is all about containing the opposition and making sure that we are playing our football in this area of the pitch. We want to contain Burnley into a half. And what it means is that we are structurally dominant and containing the opposition into a half. And to do so, it means that their shape is non-existent to an extent, and the only ball that they've got on at that moment in time is the ball that's going to be played over the top. Now, what Unai Emery does brilliantly, and he uses to his advantage, is Unai is playing the technology. He's using the technology that we've currently got, because if this ball gets played over the top, and it is a tight call between one of these two players, it is going to go to VAR, and with a fine toenail, it's probably going to get called offside, which is what happened to Foster for the first goal that he scored when it was offside. The offside goal that he scored, I think it was Foster that scored the first one when he was through, and it's that the offside trap worked perfectly in that moment. And we're probably going to have moments where there are times, the odd times, that it gets done. The only problem I have with it, the offside trap, was against Manchester United, when the press isn't working, so we're not pressing the opposition. And this is what the offside trap's all about. It's all about the midfield pressing the opposition so that ball can't keep going over the top. You get the press right, you get the offside trap right. But against Manchester United, what I felt like, it was every single minute in that second half, it was 1, 2, 3, 4. It's too frequent. And if it becomes too frequent in a game, then we've got massive, massive problems. If it's just the odd one occasionally every 10 minutes, then it's working okay. It's working fine. So, they get through on one of their goals. And it's just one of them. So if I show you how it works when we are scoring goals, is that you can see that this is Aston Villa's high line when we've scored a goal. This is the second goal that we score. So Watkins over the top. You can see Moussa Diaby getting forward, but you can see our defence is on the halfway line, high line, and we've scored from the high line. So for me, I'm not having none of this. We've got to stop doing it. We've got to stop doing it, because we can clearly see that the high line is working when we're scoring goals. So, I just wanted to touch on the high line, because I'm seeing that it's a bad thing, and I don't think it is a bad thing. You've got to think of, you look at this back four yesterday. Why our back four has been so good is that we've pretty much had Pau, Konsa, Cash, Luca Dean, or we've had the vice versa if we go for that 3. And we've got 2 players in here that haven't really played much this season in Longley and Moreno. So I think there's no problems for me. There's no problems whatsoever for me. I think it's worked an absolute treat. You can see from the stats that we've got. We've probably like double ahead of anybody else who've got teams offside. Remember that stat a couple of months ago? So it's here to stay. I think it's working, but we've got to just fine tune it slightly. But we're winning football matches, and we're second in the league. So if it's working when we're scoring, we've got to remember it works when we are scoring as well. So we'll go to some of the images then, and then we'll get in. No, what we'll do is we'll go to the some of the stats. I want to show you the player average positions as well, because these were massive, and it ties in with something that we're saying about Ramsey against Manchester United and his average position, and it was a lot better against Burnley. So we had 65% possession, XG of 3.15, 19 shots, 7 on target. We had 454 passes, 85% passing accuracy. And one tactic that I noticed that we were doing quite often in this game is we was going long. We had 48% success on our long balls. So we were going long. We were going for that ball into that channel for Watkins to run onto. And we did that numerous times in this game. There was that one moment where Diaby should have had it and Watkins left it, and that was a big chance as well. So, that ball over the top was working. You can see our danger creation as well was pretty much everywhere really. It was down on that right-hand side, left-hand side, through the middle. So, we created a lot of chances and an expected threat of all over the pitch as well, which was pleasing to see. Our shot map peppered the goal inside, outside. We had loads of chances, an XG of on our shot map of 2.73 to Burnley's 1.10. And then here you can see the expected threat on match dominance. Villa 4.88 and Burnley 1.91. And you can see, especially in that second half, we really, turned our gears and sort of was the more dominant side, especially when it went down to 10 men. And then you've got the XG shot by the minute. And Villa are in the blue and Burnley are in the claret. So here we can see the average positions for Aston Villa against Burnley. So you can see that you've got the back three. So you've got 4 Konsa, 3 Carlos, 17 Longley. You've got a double pivot of McGinn and Douglas Luiz. And then you've also got number 15 Moreno going forward more. But you've got Jacob Ramsey a little bit more compact in central midfield. So what was that one thing that I criticised Ramsey for in the last game, was that he was stepping on Luca Dean's toes a little bit too much, and he needed to make up part of the midfield. And here you can see that Ramsey was a lot more central and our midfield looked a lot more balanced, which was really good. You can see Watkins 11 as a focal point, and then you've got those two of Diaby and Bailey. The link up is there. So that was absolute dynamite on that right hand side. And then here you can see the passing network. You've got a lot of width, which was something that we needed to do at home. You can see that the double pivot is further apart than what it normally is, but you've also got Ramsey in there and Diaby in there, literally making up that little box. Really, if Diaby was just a little bit more central, you would be able to make up that box. And you can see that the passing networks between Carlos, Konsa, and Bailey are really, really strong. We really worked that right hand side. But what you can see is that apart from Watkins, there's a network between every player, and that's something that we really lacked against Manchester United. So pleasing to see the width. And I think you can really see that Ramsey's role was a lot better. And a lot of you will be able to remember that network with him stepping on Luca Dean's toes. This, for me, 10 times better. And it really does show a really good network. If we have a look at Burnley's, it's a lot more together. It's a lot more congested, especially in the middle of the park. And then here you can see their network, especially in central midfield. It's a bit chaotic in there. And I think that's down to Aston Villa's midfield, them trying to get a grip on our midfield. So if we go now to the average positions, but what I want to highlight is I just want to highlight some of the things that I've just been discussing, especially players' positions. So we're going to first of all start with Ramsey's then. So you can see Ramsey's average positions and his heat map now. So you can see how he's more central, not too wide, and I think that's something that's an area that he's just got to work on. Just got to keep being in there, keep driving forward, finding that space, and exploiting the opposition defenses. We have a look at Leon Bailey, heat map, hugging that touchline, absolutely loving that. And then also you've got to look at Moussa Diaby's, where he's interchanging with Bailey, but he's also taking up those central areas. His heat map's quite heat. There's a lot of heat on that 18-yard box as well. So he's getting in there. He's getting a lot of chances. On another day, he'd have a hat trick. Watkins again, quite central. I thought he had a really big game. We'll have a look at Moreno. Moreno's heat map heavy down that sort of left-hand side, and this is our left back. And he's spending more time in the opposition half than he's in his own half, which is exactly where we want him to be. You've got Konsa, Carlos, Longley, and one players that I will touch on as well that is really impressed me is Martinez's. Look at Martinez's heat map. His heat map is quite orange. sort of in front of that 18-yard box, and that shows that high line as well. The sweeper keeper, he's having just when Martinez comes out to head the ball, that's where we want him to be. We want Martinez to be that sweeper keeper. And, when I'm seeing Martinez coming out and heading the ball, that's all part of the line as well, and being alert. And I think it's great to see Martinez doing that as well, because that's all part of his role now. He's having to be the sweeper keeper, coming out and mopping up things and just, calming it. And yeah, absolutely great to see. But that heat map from a keeper is absolutely brilliant. So you can really see different styles on how we play with our goalkeeper. If I go to another team, let's just pick Forest against Manchester United, and we'll compare the keepers. If we have a look at the keeper from Forest, his heat map's okay. Onana, his heat map's all right. There was one team that I did have a look at yesterday, and I was like, you can tell the heat maps from different teams. I think it was Wolves. So we'll go to Wolves' heat map from their keeper. So Jose Sarr, I think it was. So see how he's inside his 18-yard box, and that shows the difference between their keeper and how they're doing things compared to Martinez. And we'll go Pickford as well. Pickford's sweeper keeper as well. So, I think that highlights the different roles of different goalkeepers. So if we go to the images now, we'll have a look at some of the goals and some of the things that impressed me. First goal, brilliant from Ollie Watkins. Absolutely brilliant. He runs from sort of like around here into the box, and then he kind of fizzes this little ball into Bailey. And it's a great ball from Watkins. Absolutely brilliant. And Leon Bailey, get him on that left foot inside the 18-yard box, and it's only going in one place, and it's in the back of the net. But then we huffed and we puffed, and we got our goal, and Burnley go down the other end of the pitch and score. Not sure on Martinez's positioning for this goal. He's in a little bit of no man's land here. He's come, he's not come, and he just gets caught and he gets lost. I think he wants to come, but he just doesn't. And then they end up getting the header. You can see that they've got sort of like an overload here now. So they've got the overload against no Villa players. So we really needed to switch on and get in front of them. And then they head it to Amdouni, and he scores his goal. So poor defending from Villa. And then our second goal, great link up. Look at Diaby's desire to get into the box. The high line, you've got Villa's high line defensively, containing the opposition. Brilliant to see. And then here we have got the red card. I'm hearing company moaning about the cards, but what about Konsa? Konsa got a yellow card for just moaning at the ref. So there was petulant yellow cards left, right, and centre, really. So I think Villa got one, and so did they, really. So, but I think I want to highlight actually, this was the red card incident, and again you can see Villa's line is really, really high. So we are containing that opposition in our half, and we were through. Look, we were through. We were about to sort of have a real big chance here, because Douglas Luiz had broke through the lines, and again, territorially, the high line, it's suffocated Burnley, and it's created this opportunity for us. We then have got their second goal, which was, I think Foster's absolutely unreal. Absolutely brilliant striker. I enjoyed watching him at the start of the season, and now he's back. The high line here is not actually that high, is it? I mean, if you're going back to images of Villa's high line, that's the high line there. That's Villa's high line. So when we're looking at this goal that we've conceded, that line actually isn't that high. But yeah, we he gets a run, and it's a really good finish at Martinez's near post. Keepers shouldn't be beat at their near post. He gets some right power on it. I think you've got to think it's a great finish. But I guess Martinez, the world's number one, would be thinking, I probably shouldn't get beat at my near post, but he does. So what have we got here? Again, I just really wanted to highlight Villa's shape. You can see Villa's shape in a nutshell, really. And I think this image highlights something that I enjoyed watching. So you've got Villa's back four, you've got the double pivot of Dougie and McGinn. You've got Ramsey wanting to break through the line in that central area. But something that I thought was really good and what we have to have from the player that plays alongside Watkins is they have to drop a bit deeper and make up that box midfield and actively make up and become that player on the opposite side to Jacob Ramsey. So you can see Villa's midfield here. You've got Louise, Ramsey to Diaby, and Diaby to John McGinn. So that's Villa's box midfield. But then what we do have is that asymmetric style of Leon Bailey out wide. So Leon Bailey out wide makes that asymmetric shape. And I think, it's just good to see Diaby dropping and then Bailey going out wide. And I think sometimes when we think about Diaby, we think of he's looked a bit lost recently. But this is the area that we need to see him in a little bit more, I think. Just actively being able to see him in this role. But I think he had a great game. He had a great link up with Bailey. And I think, you've got Watkins in there as well. And I think this image here just shows that everybody's in tune with what they're meant to be doing. And I think when I can see stuff like this, then I know we're doing things right. And I know that we're playing well. So, I just really wanted to highlight this image because it's a great image to show how Villa play and what we're trying to do. And off picture now, you're probably going to have Moreno, who's sort of on the same line as probably where Bailey is as well. So, again, the line is quite high, containing the opposition, etc. So it's a great image to be able to show you all. And then that was the last one of Douglas Luiz. So all in all, really, really happy. Happy with what I saw. Good performance. I thought it was a good performance. We missed a few chances. They scored 2 goals. We won 3-2. And like me and Justin said, teams are going to score goals against us. There are going to be times where it gets a bit edgy. There are going to be times where we don't play that well. But the most important thing is that Aston Villa win the football match. And when we look back on the season, we might not look back on them and think, oh, wow, we beat Burnley 3-2. It might just be one of those games that you're like, we had to win that game. And it's just one of those. So, I just remember listening to a commentator and a pundit talking when I was watching Liverpool against Crystal Palace earlier in the season. And Liverpool were just terrible. They were awful. And the commentator was just like, if Liverpool win the league this season, they won't look back on this game and think, and the fans won't remember it as a great game. But it's just one where they have to win, and they won, and they ended up winning the game. And, it's just one of them. Like, we're winning football matches, and we're just doing things really, really well. So, Emery's gave the lads 3 days off. We know McGuinness said that Emery is very good with his days off. So they've got 3 days off now to rest, recover, regroup. And then we turn our attention to the FA Cup. And I was watching Emery in the game, and I didn't mention it actually. He wasn't happy. He wasn't happy at one point with the crowd either. There was one period in the game where Carlos was taking his time a little bit, and the crowd were getting edgy, and Emery was just doing it. He was just doing this to the crowd, and he's doing it for like ages. He was just like, "Come on." So yeah, he was getting a bit. I think he was getting a bit frustrated. But one thing that I think when we are taking our time and we are sort of getting in our shape, it is all about sort of Villa getting in their shape and sort of just knowing that we want to be in our structure. And I think that's important to note as well. Is that when the ball goes here, and we're taking our time still. We have to just keep remembering we have to trust this process. And Emery wants the players to get set in their positions. So when the ball's then going to be moved into there, we're setting our structured shape here. So we are just waiting and waiting and waiting for that right opportunity for that ball to go into those right areas. What he doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to. Emery, we know Emery's about control. And when he's about control, what he doesn't want to do is for a player to play a pass into an area where that pass is going to get cut out. That's the worst thing that can happen for Emery, is that when that crowd got edgy, if that ball went in there and it got cut out and they were on the break, Emery would be fuming. He wants to have complete control. So if it does take its time or it does go a bit slower, doesn't matter. We're scoring late goals. We will create that chance. So it's important for us to just hold our nerve and be super, super patient. So that's the end of the debrief. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Aston Villa currently, at the time of recording, are second in the Premier League. Shout out as well to Leon Edwards. I loved it. What I've got to say as well is that I got into my seat a bit earlier, and I actually thought that the music, the montages before the game were brilliant. They've improved massively. Love that Leon Edwards came on the pitch. I think that's brilliant. We've got to start doing more stuff like that. And shout out to Luke Littler, who watched the darts. Oh my God. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So up the Luke Littler as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So cheers, everyone. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, subscribe, comment your thoughts. Up the Villa.